Okay, I want to make a promise to my audience, both here and on YouTube, that for the rest of 2025, for the next 4 years, my content is not going to be a slog through all of the depressing, horrible, bleak things in American politics. Yes, there will be politics discussed here because permaculture is inherently political. There is no way for me to discuss a design system that is based on earth care, people care, fair share, that has been radically political since its inception in the 70s, whose founder, Bill Mollison, was incredibly political, that you cannot expect me to advocate for permaculture, to teach permaculture, while living in a society that is in every way antithetical to those values. Its economic system, its governmental system, many of the beliefs and ideologies and outlook and worldview that a significant proportion of our populace shares are all antithetical to permaculture, are all extractive rather than regenerative. Anything I discuss about permaculture within that context is going to be political. So if that's not for you, then that's okay. You can go somewhere else that has, a dumbed down permaculture that has reduced it to less than what it truly is in order to make it more palatable. I will not be doing that. I will be sticking with my values and operating with integrity. However, I am not going to make all of my content depressing and bleak because we are seeing the inundation on a daily basis of numerous stories every day. Far more breaking news that is depressing, that is scary, that is frightening, that is stripping back our rights. Far more of that on a daily basis than our little brains are meant to consume and deal with. More than our psyches and our bodies and all parts of us are actually meant to absorb and process. I don't know if anybody else is just perpetually tense like this all the time, every time you open up an app and read the news. So I promise that while I'm going to cover things that are absolutely on topic for this channel, are applicable to the subject of permaculture and how we implement it in real life, while I continue to be true to my values of discussing how we create a world that has earth care, people care, and fair share, that I'm not gonna be part of the system that is dumping depressing content on you. I'm not going to be hopecore. I'm not going to be, naively optimistic and say things that are not true. I'm not going to give you a false sense of hope, but I also want to offer encouragement and be sure to share good things that actually are happening. I don't want us to get despondent. I don't want us to get bogged down, but I also don't want us to turn a complete blind eye to what's happening, especially if there are ways that we can work to be part of the change that we need to have, that we can work to be part of the liberation that needs to happen. I'm not going to ignore that. But I do not want to be part of the problem of making folks feel so overwhelmed that they are paralyzed and can't operate. I don't want to be part of the problem of folks dissociating and feeling like they have to disconnect from what is happening to the people around them, the people in this country, to what we are doing to our citizenry, what we're doing to our immigrants, what we're doing to people around the world, how our tax dollars are funding. I don't want to ignore all of that. I don't want us to completely disconnect and just go along for the ride because we feel like we're a small, insignificant, little blip in a giant system that we can't change. Because permaculture says slow, small solutions. We know that small things that we do can have a big impact, especially when they are cumulative, when we do small thing after small thing, or when hundreds of millions of other people join with us, or even hundreds of other people join with us, that we can have an impactful difference, that we can make an impactful difference. So I don't intend for this to be a channel that is giving a sanitized version of permaculture and is ignoring the hard subjects. I never want to turn away from the hard subjects because I feel like we can never have effective permaculture if we are ignoring the root problems, if we are only looking to focus on the parts of the solution that are easy and comfortable and really fulfilling and are, relatively painless to achieve. I know that what I want is a world with earth care, people care, and fair share. And in order to get that, we have to dive into the hard subjects. But in permaculture, we say the problem is the solution. The problem is not wallowing in the problem. It's not despairing in the problem. It's not saying, the problem feels so big, I need to give up. It's saying, look at the problem, take it apart, analyze it, and by doing that analysis, help craft a solution. So that's sort of the bent that I want to take for the rest of the year, for the rest of this god-awful administration. I want to look for the things that are hopeful, the things that are good, the good that people are doing, and I want to put that forward. I also want to offer practical advice as well, because sometimes frequently it is helpful to control the things over which we actually can exert control, right? To be able to feel like we have some impact. And sometimes for me, that it comes in the form of like, well, I went out and pruned my orchard today, or I'm growing a little bit more of my own food, or I'm able to share a little bit more of the food I've grown with my neighbors. Just something like really small like that. Even if it doesn't have the giant impact that we're hoping for it to, it can create enough of a motivation in us. There are layers of impact that it can have for us and help us continue on and do the work that we need to do. Much of what I hope to talk about are ways that we can bolster ourselves and keep ourselves going so that we can do the good and impactful work that needs to be done in the lives of others, not just for our own survival. Now, I'm not saying we can't lament now and then, that we aren't capable and shouldn't feel overwhelmed, because I think that having those moments where the problems feel really big can spurn us to want to take action. But I don't want this channel to just be gloom and doom and despair for 4 straight years. Because there are good things happening and we need to focus on them, and we can be part of the good things that are happening. We can create more good. And I don't think the parts of permaculture that are like sustainable and regenerative living, gardening, keeping poultry, I don't think that those are things that we have to stop talking about. And I think it's important to continue to pivot between greater issues, big systemic issues, and then the like small things within the domestic sphere, within our household, within our families. We need to acknowledge and honor and work to make both spheres better. And I think also for our own sanity, we have to pivot back and forth. So I will continue to cover mundane, everyday things, small, little, tiny things, things in the garden, recipes, mending, very, very simple things that actually matter, both within our daily routine and for our own well-being. And I will continue to talk about greater systemic things in a way that is solution-based. I may be snarky now and then, because I can be snarky. I may be angry. I will be authentic. If I'm angry, you will know it. But I want to promise my audience that I will not get bogged down in drama and despair, and I will not take you with me, that I will continue to be true to the values upon which I have founded all of my work. And I would ask you to hold me accountable if you see me slipping. I'm allowed to have a bad day. You're allowed to have a bad day, but I hope that you will hold me accountable. And as I am making this video, my side garden is right behind the camera, and I'm watching a whole bunch of chickadees in my quince and my pawpaw that are right out this window. And I am reminded that it is a cold, beautiful, sunny day with a clear blue sky here in Portland, and I need to get outside and prune my apple trees. So I think that's probably a good place to start. I am going to go film, and I will share a little bit of that work with you. Because it's January 20th, and for hundreds of millions of Americans and millions of immigrants, it is a really scary time. It is the beginning of a really scary time in the US. But I'm not going to focus on those stories today. I'm not going to focus on the spectacle. I'm going to go focus on my garden for a little bit. And I hope that you are able to access those things, that you continue to engage in the things that are meaningful to you and bring joy to your life. Because as I've said, and many others have said many, many times, joy is resistance. Rest is resistance. Producing something that in no way contributes to the capitalist machine, but is purely for your own enrichment and enjoyment, or as a gift to others, that is resistance. So I'm going to go engage in some of that right now, and I'll be sharing that with you in my next video. And I hope that you are able to access those things too, today and throughout the next 4 years. Thanks for continuing to watch my content in 2025. And I don't know how long I'll be on TikTok, but I will be staying on YouTube. And I appreciate the interaction, the feedback from my audience. I appreciate the dialogue, the back and forth. Y'all challenge me a lot. And I hope you will continue to challenge me in this area. And I hope that the content that I make this year is encouraging to you.